Gideon Falter occupied countless newspaper headlines and studio sofas this past weekend. That was after footage of his encounter with a police officer at a pro-Palestinian march in London went viral. We've already reported on how Falter's claims of innocently stumbling across the march while out for a stroll after synagogue quickly evaporated on closer examination. But in a way, it doesn't matter, because the leader of the campaign against anti-Semitism may have already achieved everything he wanted. Namely, massive disinformation about the nature of the marches. This is from the Centre for Media Monitoring. So far, the British media has published 959 articles referencing hashtag Gideon Falter and the Metropolitan Police. Just one of those articles mentions Falter is vice chairman at the Jewish National Fund, JNF UK, described as, quote, a charity complicit with ethnic cleansing in Palestine. Now, a new video has emerged that appears to show that Falter tried it on more than once. This is from Channel 4 News. It shows Falter in a completely different location along the route of the march, and he's being accused of going in and out of the protests by a different police officer. In other words, he was hoping that someone would kick off. Though, of course, as we know, nobody did. And did you notice this man in sunglasses by Falter's side? He bears a remarkable resemblance to this chap. He was pictured outside a secret Royal Society of Arts conference in December, where he was guarding Israeli President Isaac Herzog. Fascinating. According to reports, he works for the SQR Group, a security firm run by, get this, two former Mossad agents. If the two men are the same, and they certainly seem to be, then Gideon Falter wasn't just accompanied on his provocation by any old security guard, but by someone whose services are subcontracted to the Israeli state. Rivka Brown also has some additional details on this story, published over at novaramedia.com. Brilliant reporting, as she reports this testimony from witnesses. Keelan, who requested that Novara Media only use his first name, saw Falter in Russell Square at around 11:30 a.m. on the 13th of April, over an hour before the march set off and long before any Shabbat service would have ended. Dan, who also asked to be referred by his first name for fear of professional reprisal, spotted the group walking along Southampton Street near Holborn at around 1 p.m. It would be a further hour before freelance investigative journalist John Lubbock captured Falter's altercation with police a few hundred metres away on Aldwych at around 2 p.m. In his Times op-ed, Falter speaks of being accompanied by a group of 5 men. The video evidence suggests these weren't just any individuals, but included bodyguards and a videographer. In the majority of traditions, it is against Jewish law to use electronic devices on the Sabbath. He wasn't being provocative because he was wearing a kippah, said Lubbock. He was being provocative because he was with a group of large bouncers. People wear uniforms that show political affiliations. We know how subcultures work. He's gone there to provoke. And as if things couldn't get any worse for Falter, the website Squawkbox has published this image. The blue arrow is pointing at Falter, who is busy complaining to police about how London is no longer safe for Jews. Meanwhile, meters away, encircled here in red, are 3 children of Holocaust survivors and 1 actual survivor of Hitler's genocide. They're just 4 of the many, many Jewish people who have very safely joined these marches. Michael, Gideon Falter has been at the centre of a media storm. We knew that already, but it's also been a real media masterclass, hasn't it?
Yes and no. I think, yes, it has been, in the sense that he has sort of created a news cycle where everyone is talking about anti-Semitism instead of talking about Gaza, which is probably something he's very pleased about. I do think that the manner in which this story has collapsed will hopefully, now I say hopefully because it's difficult to have much confidence in this, will hopefully mean that the media, and at least media consumers, will be somewhat more aware that when you see a clip that looks somewhat outrageous on first viewing, there might be something more complicated going on. So I do think sort of the fact that the reality of the situation has now come out will sort of open up people's minds to the idea that people do come specifically to provoke people so that they can get this one viral clip and then make out that there is this enormous anti-Semitism crisis. And I think Gideon Falter is a good example, actually, of how manufactured that whole process can be.